Wembley has been the home of English football since 1923, but that proud history is now under threat as the FA considers Shahid Khan's £600 million offer to buy the iconic venue. But it hasn't just been the English football team to make use of the old Wembley Stadium or the new, with a huge variety of sporting events taking place within the arena. From speedway to rugby league and American football to boxing, Sportsmail looks through the decades at other sports to have called Wembley home. 1920s. The old Wembley was built in 1923 and was the first permanent home for the England football team, who had roamed the country before that point. It was originally known as Empire Stadium and cost £750,000 to construct. The first Challenge Cup final between Wigan and Dewsbury was held in 1929 as rugby league took centre stage. 1930s, the football turf was occasionally completely ripped up for car racing events. The stadium would go on to hold a wide range of motorsports. From speedway to stock car racing, petrolheads were able to get their thrills in the National Stadium. Below is an image of a speedway racer and ground staff putting up rugby posts for a clash between Warrington and Huddersfield in 1933. 1940s, at the time Wembley was regarded as among the finest sporting arenas in the world and staged the 1948 London Olympics. After a 12-year hiatus during World War II, the Games were a celebration on a number of levels, and Wembley played host to track and field in front of packed houses. The Olympic spirit was alive and well, and the Summer Games have been held in the capital on 3 separate occasions. 1950s, Gaelic football was a major attraction during the 1950s. Thousands of Irish supporters crammed inside the stadium to watch Galway face Derry in 1958. In the late 1950s, the GAA in Britain rented the Wembley ground to host exhibition games of Gaelic football and hurling. The Wembley tournament was an annual event that attracted large crowds and continued until the 1970s. 1960s, 1970s greyhound racing was ever present at Wembley from 1927. In the early years, these events were the main source of income for the stadium, such was the huge popularity. The St. Leger and Trafalgar Cup, two of the biggest events in the sports calendar, were both held at Wembley until 1998. Greyhound racing has since declined, and there is no longer the voracious appetite for the sport that once existed. 1980s, the gridiron came to town in the 1980s. American football came across the pond to make its debut in front of an English audience. In 1987, the Denver Broncos played against the Los Angeles Rams in the American Bowl. These were preseason exhibition games aimed at promoting the sport abroad. After successfully trialing in London, the American Bowl moved to Germany and also Japan. 1990s, the 1990s were a golden age of rugby league at the famous Old Ground. League and Wembley are intertwined through history in way union hasn't been, with the other code played at Twickenham since 1909. Thousands of fans from the north of England make the pilgrimage to see their team play in the Challenge Cup final. From Shaun Edwards to Andy Gregory, legends of the game have all made their mark at the National Stadium. 2000s. In 2007, the new Wembley Stadium was constructed, and in addition to being England football's shiny new home, the state-of-the-art facility housed a number of other events. A year after the end of construction, Wembley played host to Race of Champions. Drivers from Formula One, World Rally Championship and NASCAR competed around the purpose-built circuit in identical cars. Wembley joined a long list of iconic venues to host, including the Stade de France and Beijing National Stadium. 2010 onwards, perhaps the most famous event to be staged at Wembley in recent years was Anthony Joshua's victory over Wladimir Klitshcko in April 2017. An enormous crowd of 90,000 spectators crammed in to watch the British heavyweight star claw himself up off the canvas and separate the Ukrainian from consciousness in the 11th round. Wembley would no doubt be in the running to host a massive unification showdown between Joshua and Deontay Wilder at some point this year.